podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, February 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day. This is episode 1771. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit and get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. And by CashFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with CashFly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. Well, hey, happy Valentine's Day. It's me, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, yeah, there's nothing more romantic than a computer that won't boot, or a printer that won't print, or an internet that won't internet. That's what we talk about on the show, the gizmos and gadgets that populate our lives. Anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo, my phone number, if you want to call and talk high tech. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still call. Just use Skype. It won't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. Everything you hear on the show goes up on the website thanks to our scribe, James DeRuvo, who is scribbling as we speak. He'll put it all up at techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. That's free, no sign up. So, and, you know, it's just open like the internet used to be. You wander on in and have a seat, anything you want from all 1,771 shows. They're all there. So you don't have to write anything down as you're listening. techguylabs.com. Let's see what's going on in the world. Well, one of the most prolific cyber criminals in the world has retired. You'll be glad to know. His handle is Joker's Stash. Joker's Stash. And he had been running for some time what they call it carding, a popular carding marketplace. Carding, it refers to credit cards. It's a place you could go to buy stolen credit card information. The going price for a single card on Joker's Stash ranging from $1 to $150. And of course, they cost more when they come with more information. If you pay $150, expect not just the card number, but the cardholder's name, address, and social security number. Woo! Time to party. Joker's Stash has been around for quite a while, since 2014. That was the place where some of the most famous dumps of credit card information, for instance, the 2 million cards from the Buca de Beppo restaurant breach, the 5 million cards from the Saks Fifth Avenue breach, they all ended up there. And he wasn't doing it out of, a love for the hacker community or a deep desire to help people steal credit cards. He's doing it for money. What else? Took a commission. Since 2015, according to elliptic.co, $400 million in Bitcoin. $400 million in Bitcoin was sent to the marketplace. Annual sales peaked a couple of years ago in 2018 at $139 million in Bitcoin. Sales dropped off over the next 2 years, I should say, including last year. And this is a good thing. It shows that people were more careful with their credit cards. Security around credit cards payment had made the theft more difficult. Anti-fraud technology made those card numbers less useful. All of this good. Maybe that's why Joker's Stash announced that he's retiring. He apparently contracted COVID in October, was hospitalized, he or she, we don't know. In December, Interpol and the FBI, you may remember, announced a coordinated seizure of all the domains used by the site, which apparently made no difference because it was right back up through Tor mirrors and still operating. He posted a closure notice on the site this week. We are also want to wish all young and mature ones, cyber gangsters, not to lose themselves in the pursuit of easy money. Remember that even all the money in the world will never make you happy, and that all the most truly valuable things in this life are free. Which is easy to say because Joker's stash made off with about, it's estimated, 60,000 Bitcoin worth $2.5 billion. He or she's a billionaire. Yeah, easy to say money doesn't solve all your problems when you have $2.5 billion. Tomorrow's the last day, although it's been inaccessible for most of the month. Angering, it says here, many customers who still had balances to spend. Oh, you still had credit with Joker's stash and you couldn't use it. This is not the first time a well-known hacking site or hacking community or hacking group has announced its retirement. There is a whole category of, I don't want to say websites because they're not necessarily on the web, but a whole category of internet places that allow that basically hacking for hire, ransomware for hire, DDoS for hire. So you don't even have to have mad skills to be a bad guy on the internet these days. You can just go spend a few Bitcoin and get somebody to attack a site for you or get ransomware attacks for you. And one of the best known ransomware cyber criminals last November, Maze, the Maze ransomware gang announced its retirement in November. It's kind of I think it's telling, to be honest. These guys are making so much money that they after a little bit they go, okay, I got my yacht, I got my private island, I'm out of here. Why did Mays retire? Similar. Our world is sinking in the recklessness and indifference and laziness and stupidity, he or she or it wrote. If you're taking responsibility for other people's money and personal data, then try to keep it secure. Until you do, there will be more projects like Mays to remind you about secure data storage. Oh, they were good guys. They were just, this is a very common defense by bad guys. No, we're just helping you learn about security. Oh, thank you. Hey, thank you. Not the only ransomware group even to announce its retirement. There's another one called Grand Crab. I love these names. They retired. Shutting down, possibly because it's getting hard. That happened last summer, getting harder and harder to do their jobs. I don't know. But the sad thing, and I should remind you, is that for every Joker's stash or Maze or Grand Crab that retires with billions of dollars in Bitcoin under their belt, there are probably 10 more taking their place. So maybe there is a lesson there. Lock your doors, kids. The bad guys aren't going away. It's kind of amazing to me, though, that this guy, and I think it's probably one guy who created this online site for trading credit cards, is walking away with $2.5 billion. If that's not an incentive to be a bad guy, I don't know what is. Facebook is going to do a smartwatch according to The Information. It's a very useful tech news site, theinformation.com. Alex Heath and Wayne Ma are good. They're really good. They have 4 people from Facebook, unnamed sources, who say Facebook's building a smartwatch it wants to sell in 2022. It will let wearers send messages on Facebook, but also offer health and fitness features. The latest is that Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg is in a massive feud with Apple. They're mad that Apple has the temerity to tell iPhone users what information Facebook is gathering. They hate that, and even offering to turn off the ID for advertising that Apple offers. Apple calls it ATT. What does that stand for? Apple ATT. I can't remember. The app tracking transparency. That's it. Apple's app tracking transparency just merely reveals the information that any app on your iPhone gathers about you. But that's enough to really cheese off Facebook because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. It's already hurt WhatsApp a lot. So I think Facebook says, all right, we're going to get in the game. Stand back. Hold my beer while I create a smartwatch. We're going to beat you, Apple. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Somehow, I doubt it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. I'd love to hear from you if you want to talk high tech. Let's do it. What do you say? Lines are open. Dedicate this to your foxy lady on Valentine's Day. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy coming up. Rod Pyle, our space guy, our photo guy, Chris Marquardt, all coming up today on the Tech Guy Show. But really, the most important part of the show is your calls. We'll start with Mitzi. Oh, wait a minute. Before we, I almost
for Kim, not for everybody
Foxy
else.
Lady was for Kim. I forgot.
You're just so raring to go.
I was ready to jump in. Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's.
I almost stood you up on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, well, that's par for the course.
I apologize. Look, I made a little pink heart card for you.
Oh, really?
No.
I didn't think so.
Looking for it. I'm sure I have it here somewhere.
You can get some crayons and make me one during
crayons.
the break.
Get the crayons.
Get the crayons and the markers.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Have a wonderful...
I'm so used to it.
I don't mean to pile on or anything. So, you know what started on this day in Valentine's Day 2005, 16 years ago? YouTube.
Really?
Yes. I have, I will play it a little later on in an interview that Amber MacArthur and I did for our show, Inside the Net. A year later, they hadn't even been bought by Google yet, with one of the founders about how they started YouTube. I'll play that.
My friend has a boyfriend who's been working for them since almost day one, so he's
nice.
He's
I hope he
sitting
got
pretty.
Some stock. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you see Lady Gaga's new husband is a Facebook high up Facebook
her boyfriend?
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Did they not get married yet?
I don't think so. No, not that I've heard. But I'm kind of behind the times with that kind of stuff.
I'm figuring that he's doing all right at Facebook because he gave her an 8-carat diamond engagement ring.
Okay. Well,
8.
I've heard there's been sightings of Gaga in the neighborhood because he lives, here.
Yeah. Local guy does good.
Yeah. And Gaga.
Gaga. 8 carats. Wow.
That's big.
Who should I start with today?
Let's go to Mitzi now.
Oh, yeah,
Mitzi is really
Poor
eager
Mitzi.
to
I got her
talk to you.
hopes up and everything. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's.
Hi there, Mitzi.
Hi, I'm on pins and needles. I'm so excited that I got in.
I'm so excited. Oh, good.
I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you.
I am pinning my hopes on you.
Oh, dear.
On this Valentine. You will forever be my Valentine if you can solve this problem.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah,
I
so like a little, no pressure.
I get a sinking feeling when I hear that.
So here's the story. So we've got a Epson Perfection 1260 scanner.
Yeah.
Works great. It's a good scanner.
Yeah.
We get a new computer. It's a desktop with Windows 10, and it won't work. And so we called Epson.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it to work, and Epson said, "Oh no, it won't work with Windows 10." You're kidding. No, it won't work with Windows 10.
Isn't that sad? Apparently, Epson's decided, even though, how long ago did you get that scanner?
Well, the scanner we've had for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, they're going to give up on supporting it. But honestly, it had Windows 8 drivers. And there's not that much difference between Windows 8 drivers. In fact, there's very little difference between Windows 8 drivers and Windows 10 drivers. So let me just check here. Windows 10 64-bit drivers. You know, maybe they've updated that since then. I don't know. It looks like if I go to Epson.com and go to the drivers section and look for you said it was Perfection 1260?
Correct.
I am seeing Scanner Driver and Epson Scan Utility for that. So I would check the Epson site. That it may simply be there weren't drivers when you talked to them, and they have come up with drivers since then.
This is just a few days ago.
I would check. I would try the driver they offer. The other thing you can do is if you use the older driver, you can run it in compatibility mode. There's a compatibility tab, and you can run the program in compatibility mode, and that might work. And then finally, I'm going to tell you actually about a scanner driver that should work and is not from HP or Epson. I keep saying HP. I'm sorry. Is not from HP. It's called Twain. Is that it? No, that's not it. It's let me see. There's a third-party scanner driver that works with Twain.
We found one online, and it said that they've got the drivers.
Yes.
But then it said, this could be filled with malware. And one of the comments on the site from somebody who'd obviously done it was that, it worked, but he spent 2 days trying to get all the malware off.
Well, don't get one with malware. That sounds like a bad idea, even if it works. I think they're not getting it from the original source, and I'm racking my brain now because I haven't looked at this in a long time. But it was a great third-party scanner driver that worked with. There's a standard for scanners called Twain, and there are a number of companies. ViewScan, that's it. Is that the one you tried? VUESCAN. It is, as I remember, I think it might be free. It's from Hamrick. So if you get it from the original, it may be that you were, I would guess, if you got some malware on it, you were getting it from another site, not the original site. And the other site added the malware because it'd be silly to write a real working scanner driver and then put malware on it, right? Go to hamrick.com, HAMRIC.com. You can try it for free. It is for Windows 10. It works with most scanners. I bet you anything it works with the Epson Perfection because there's a standard that for scanners called Twain, and most scanners support it. So you can go to Hamrick. This is actually, you're going to find it's better than the Epson software anyway. It's called ViewScan, and it's from HAMRICK.com.
Okay.
All right?
All right, I'm going to give it a shot right now. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a great day. Happy Valentine's. This would be a good time for me to tell you, someday, I was thinking this the other day, someday Hover's going to come along. Hover is where I register all my domain names. They're our sponsor. Someday Hover's going to come along and say, hey, we've got a new TLD. There's so many top-level domains. You know the .com. Of course, that was the first one. And then .net, .org, .edu, .gov, all the kind of original domain names. I feel like someday somebody's going to come along and create a .leo domain name. And I am going to have to run to Hover and register everything I can under .leo. I look forward to that day. Meanwhile, until then, I've got .ninja, .pizza, .democrat, .republican. There are so many domains, and I've registered a lot of them. The other day, I wanted to set up a chat for my family and so forth. And there is a .chat. I'm not surprised. What I often do is I go to Hover and I'll type in my name or a thing and just see what all the domains are that I can register. You'll be amazed. You might want to do this if you're an artist, a writer, if you're a small business, if you're a programmer, if you have your own thing, I suggest it would be a really good idea to go to hover.com and register a domain name for that thing. Because it's fine to be at gmail.com or at AOL.com or at hotmail.com, but it doesn't distinguish you from everybody else. But what if you could have yourlastname.com or your last name dot artist. You know what I do for my my photography? I have leo.camera. That's where all my photography is, leo.camera. So I register that at Hover. Hover has one button connects that'll set you up if you're using WordPress or Squarespace or dozens of other online places. You get the domain name. With just a press of a button, you can easily attach that domain name. So my photography portfolio is hosted at smugmug.com, but you don't go to smugmug to get to it. You go to leo.camera. Isn't that awesome? That's thanks to Hover. It's easy to set up. And honestly, I think even if you're not a business, just for your email, it's really important to have your own email address. The nice thing is if you decide you want to move from one host to another, you don't change the address at all. You just change the forwarding. So it's very simple to do. Or better yet, use Hover to do the domain and the email. They do both. Easy to set up. You can have as many mailboxes for your domain as you need. The mailboxes renews very, very affordable automatically when your domain renews. It's basically an inexpensive email system that has your business's or your private personal name as its address. That's really, I think, not only more professional, it's just better all around for you. And of course, if Hover hosts your email, you can use any email program you like. It's not going to change how you work. Hover isn't here to upsell you on anything. A lot of time, one of the reasons, for instance, if ever.leo becomes a domain name, it'll be great because I can go to Hover and register domains, boom, boom, boom. You know, you go to any other place, they upsell you. You get 20 pages of, no, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Not with Hover. It's boom, boom, boom. They know you want whois privacy. That comes with every single domain. They have really good DNS tools. So it's very easy. It's private. It's secure. Hover Connect makes it easy to set up any site with Hover. At Hover, you're a customer, not a source of data. And I can't say the same for a lot of other domain companies. Take back control of your data. Reliable, tracker-free email. Hover's trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers who use Hover domain names and Hover email to turn their ideas into reality. You know, we're big fans for Hover. You could, if you're looking for work, you could have Hover automatically point to your LinkedIn page, for instance, Developer, photographer, small business. If you're an artist, there's a .art domain. Hover has something for you to expand your projects, get the visibility you want. Hover.com/twit. Right now, you get a 10% discount on your first purchase of any domain extension for one whole year. Hover, HOVER.com/twit. The only domain registrar I use. I actually moved everything over when I started using Hover a decade ago because it was just the easiest. In fact, that's what Steve Gibson did. He used to be on one of the old line domain registrars, finally got tired of the cost and the complexity. He tweeted, tell me, what's the best domain registrar? Universally, everybody on Twitter told him, go to Hover. I agree. Hover.com/twit, 10% off your domain extension for a full year. We thank Hover so much for their support. Hover.com/twit. I should just show you how many domains I have. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our lowrider himself, Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, podcaster at wheelbearings.media, and my personal car guy, yours too. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
Good to see you. Every time I talk to Sam, he says, "Did you get your car yet?" And I say, "No, I didn't get my car yet." But I think this is going to be the week. I ordered
I think so.
A Mustang Mach-E in November of 2019 when they first announced it. And they're finally starting to get deliveries. So that's good news. There's quite a few people getting their Mach-Es. A lot of consternation over that. Before we get to your topic, I just wanted to mention this because Mach-E is, I think it's really cool. It does Android Auto and Apple's CarPlay, but it does it wirelessly. You just put your phone in there and it recognizes it. The only problem is with Android devices on Android 11, it immediately puts the phone into a boot loop.
Not a good thing.
Where boots, that's not a good thing. And Ford knows about this, and you said there are fixes on the way.
Yeah, so there was a problem in the Android Auto implementation in Sync 4, which is used both in the Mach-E and also in the new F-150, because I've actually got an F-150 in my driveway right now.
Oh, I want to hear all about that. Oh.
It has the same issue. It's a problem on the Android Auto side of it, and so they've been working with Google, and they've got a fix that's going to be coming, should be coming in the first OTA update that should be out sometime in the next few weeks. This
is one of the things Tesla, I think, was the first to do this.
Yes,
treating a car more like a computer than an automobile. They update it pretty regularly, and Ford is going to do the same thing over the air. It just comes in through the airwaves.
Most manufacturers are doing this. You'll see this coming to most new vehicles over the next couple of years. Actually, Tesla was the first one to do OTA updates for all the systems in the car. But actually doing OTA updates actually goes back to the mid-2000s before Tesla, but it was limited to just the telematics system, the communication system. So they couldn't update things like safety critical systems or other components of the car. But now, what Tesla did was they said, okay, we're going to update everything. And so that was a big boost. And it required other manufacturers to redesign their electrical and electronic architectures to be able to do it reliably. They could do it before, but it was kind of hit and miss, and the last thing you want, especially when you have millions of vehicles in the field, is to push out an update that might brick the car.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
That would be very bad.
Yeah.
Because GM actually tested OTA updates on the original Chevy Volt back in 2010, and it worked. But again, it wasn't 100% reliable, and they decided not to roll it out at the time.
And this is the difference between Tesla and a real car company. Tesla's willing to kind of take some chances, and a real car company, rightly so, I think, is a little more conservative.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think, especially with safety critical systems, it's a good idea to be more conservative and make sure you get it right before you push it out.
On the other hand, thank you, Tesla, for pushing the limits.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they've made it possible
without
for us,
Tesla,
right?
I don't think the rest of the industry would have moved this direction yet at this point.
Yeah, good. All right, I didn't mean to hijack your segment. What do you want to talk about today?
So, are you ready for tires as a service, Leo?
Well, I know that I have to get new tires fairly frequently on some of my vehicles. Is that what that means? They just arrive in the mail? Automated
not
updates?
Quite.
No.
But I had a conversation earlier this week with Paolo Ferrari, who's the CEO of Bridgestone North America. Bridgestone.
Wait a minute, his name is Ferrari, but he works for Bridgestone? I'm confused.
Yes, I don't think he's actually related to the Ferrari family of the car business.
All right.
But he's the CEO of Bridgestone North America, and Bridgestone is the largest tire maker in the world. They also own Firestone and a couple of other brands. But and over the last couple of years, they've been moving towards doing more services and adding more smarts to tires. I mean, we've talked about tires several times in the past. It's a key component of your car. It's what gives you the contact with the road.
Right.
Without your tires, the rest of it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So one of the things that they've been working on, and other tire makers have also been working on this. In fact, I remember having conversations with Goodyear back in the late 90s about putting sensors into the tires, into the tire sidewalls that you could use to measure wheel speed, but also to actually measure slip, to measure the deformation in the tire as you were braking and accelerating. And we wanted to try and use that to improve the performance of anti-lock brakes and traction control. And that never came to fruition. But we're now getting to the point where manufacturers are starting to put some sorts of sensors into the tire construction, and so far it's mostly with Bridgestone. They call it IntelliTire. It's mostly in their commercial vehicle tires for trucks and buses, but we're going to start seeing it come to passenger vehicle tires over the next couple of years. And one of the advantages of this is you can do things like measure the temperature and pressure of the tire and get a lot of interesting data about the tire. That can give you alerts about, for example, if the tire's been damaged, if you hit a pothole, that cause damage to the tire, or to be able to detect when your tread is wearing out and give you alerts, but also have the potential to start to move towards a subscription service. Much as I hate to say it, but it actually kind of makes sense for a tire, depending on how you do the cost, because tires are an item that wears out over time. You are going to have to replace them over the perhaps multiple times over the life of the car, and so imagine if you had a tire service, and if you live in a cold weather climate like I do, that automatically alerts you, okay, it's time to change from your summer tires to your winter tires. Come on in. We'll swap the tires out. We'll store your summer tires for you. And you just pay one subscription fee, and it covers the cost of the tires. As the tires wear out, they automatically get replaced for you. It's an interesting approach. They're doing it today with commercial fleets, because those fleets, it's really crucial for them to know before a tire fails.
Yeah.
That it's time.
You don't want to fail while you're driving it.
Yeah, you don't want it to fail while you're driving. You don't want unplanned downtime. So, bringing that to the consumer market, I think has some interesting potential.
Gosh, no kidding. What's the ETA, you think?
Well, as I said, they're doing it now for commercial fleets.
Yeah.
I would expect probably maybe in the next 2 to 3 years they'll probably in the next couple of years they'll start piloting something like this for consumers.
That's great.
And then maybe within the next 5 years, this might be a regular thing.
Of course, you know what some people say is, oh, you just want to sell me more tires. My tires are fine. You just want to sell me tires prematurely. And that.
Well, I mean, you can always check your tires.
You can see, yes. See
a lot
if
of people don't check their tires often enough. They don't check the pressures. They don't check the tread depth.
Yeah, we forget how important tires are for your overall safety of your vehicle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's good news. Tires as a service. That's TAS.
Yes.
Yes. TAAS.
Or as opposed to the other TAS, which is transportation as a service.
Oh no, we have a namespace collision. What's another word for tires? There is no
rubber as a service.
No, that's not good. that's not good. So how do you like that Ford F-150 in your driveway? Now this is not the electric one. This is the 2021 edition.
Yeah, it's a hybrid, and it's really good.
Hybrid.
It's a King Ranch hybrid, and really impressive. Very powerful. It's got a lot of neat features.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
More about that next week if you want.
Yes, let's. Once you've completed your review. Do you get a new car every week?
Yep, pretty much.
It's nice. Nice to be Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, podcasters at wheelbearings.media. We're lucky enough to have him as our car guy on the Tech Guy Show. More calls coming up right after this. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Leo.
Round rubber thingies the car rolls on. That's what they are.
Yeah.
It's RRTCR as a service. So happy Valentine's Day.
And same to you and Lisa.
Hope you're doing something fun. What's your wife's name? I don't know your wife's name.
Julie.
I hope you're doing something fun with Julie in the snow, making snow angels.
Staying warm.
I could think of some good ways to do that.
It's a little chilly out today.
Yeah. What's it like out there?
Let's see. It was 11 when I got up this morning. I think it's up to about 21 or so now. Oh, it's all the way up to 25. We're supposed to get 3 to 5 inches of snow tonight.
Oh, man. See, I love Michigan in the summer, but I don't know if I could do it in the winter.
It's not so bad.
I'd be a snowbird, I guess.
We're over the hump now. We're more than halfway through.
Yeah. February always was the worst. When I lived back east, February's always the worst because it's like, is this never going to end? But then spring is so pleasant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And summer.
It's such
fall.
a relief. Yeah. That makes you forget.
It's a small price to pay.
Okay.
It makes you forget. Just kind of like giving birth, right? You
just forget. By the time it's November, you go,
and then you do it again.
Why is it getting so cold? What's going on? I like the climate here, I have to say.
But Daisy loves to run through the snow.
Oh, it's so cute to watch dogs in the snow. It's so adorable.
Yeah. Especially short dogs like her.
They bounce. All right, Sam. Have a wonderful day. See you next week. Thank you, sir. Next week, I'll be telling you I'll be bubbling over about my car.
All right. Sounds good.
Of Crossing my fingers.
I hope so too.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
New wave Valentine's Day. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Professor Laura, our musical director, will be spinning the discs all day today. The discs of love, romance, heartbreak, all of the above. Marietta, it says Marietta, it's Murrieta. I was going to say Marietta, Georgia, but it's Murrieta, California. All I know is it's Matthew on the line. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you, sir?
Out here in beautiful Southern California wine country.
I know.
Question.
Hey, can you get a little closer to the phone? It's a little echoey.
Is that better?
That's better. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, both related to each other. First question is the family owns a real estate business, mobile home parks here in Southern California.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing family meetings and emailing back and forth consistently.
Nice.
With files. And my question is, I'm looking for something similar to a corporate extranet where we can have like a news page with what's the latest with the family business, be able to upload.
That's a
files.
great idea.
Have to go to a cousin and say, okay, so where's the updated emergency gas line shutoff list?
Ooh.
Things like that.
I love the idea of a family website. And you actually nailed it. It's like a corporate intranet. In fact, there are some companies that do corporate intranet things that are inexpensive or even free for small groups. I'm thinking of Monday.com, for instance, that is really designed to be it depends on how businessy you want to make it versus how, family you want to make it. But I would take a look at
more professional business related.
Yeah, I would take a look at Monday.com. It's very configurable. So you can make it exactly the things that you need, as opposed to, you may just have a few, like a project manager and maybe an update list on certain things. But I think it has some other features that you could use that would give you also more of a family thing. Let me see. There are quite a few of these. Actually,
I know you talk about Google all the time. Have you used Google Sites at all? Is that something that you could use?
I have. Look, it's a website builder that is kind of limited. I've used Google Sites for one-off web pages before when we were doing a family trip. For instance, I created a website for the family trip so that everybody could see the schedule and places we're going and stuff like that. I found it somewhat limiting. It's not, but remember, I've done in my many years in this business, I've done many websites. One thing that you might want to look at is a wiki. Wikis, I guess the first thing I should have asked is, who's going to be managing it? Who's going to be editing it? Do you want everybody to be able to post on it?
Essentially, yes. We have someone in the family who works for a large movie website in LA, and they manage our regular website, our rental sections and things. But what I want to do is have something that I can put up that's like a main page. It just has the news on it, has a link to everybody for like contacts. So if you forget someone's email, you can click and find them. You can just have a repository with files. So one could be financial, one could be mobile. Maps.
Wikis are well suited to this because they're easy to edit. They're very flexible, and a good wiki solution will have plugins for things like spreadsheets and stuff. I would look at a wiki. Do you have anywhere you could run this locally as your own server?
No, we don't have local, but
okay.
I could do something.
If you had a NAS, like a Synology NAS, it supports DokuWiki, DokuWiki. This is free. There are probably companies that do DokuWiki hosting, or you could go to somewhere like Linode, Linode, or DigitalOcean, do.com, or do.co, I think, CO. And for $5 a month, they do the hosting. You could press a button and install DokuWiki. The nice thing about a wiki is it's very flexible. So you can do stuff, make it very customized. It helps if there's somebody who's willing to take it on, I guess. That's the thing is it going to be you, or is it going to be your uncle? Is somebody going to say, I'm going to be the guy who's going to keep an eye on this?
I talked with my cousin, and he's not adverse to working on it.
Okay.
But would prefer that I do it. But we're also looking at something. We don't mind paying something out of the box. I guess what we really wanted was an out of the box solution.
Yeah.
We don't have to build on our own.
Yeah. Well, all of them are going to need some configuration because nobody's exactly like the family, what your family needs. That's why a wiki is nice. It's going to come down to who is the person's going to be running this. If it's your cousin, then it's going to be up to your cousin to say what he's comfortable with, what he likes working with. You could go to WordPress.com or Squarespace.com and set up a website there. They're inexpensive. I would say Google Sites is probably a little too primitive for what you're describing. There are
project managers.
Monday is a project manager. There's a lot of these. This is a very big category. Maybe the best known of all of these is Jason Fried's company, Basecamp. You might look at Basecamp as well. It's hard for me to say the one thing that's going to be perfect for you because it really depends on a couple of things: who's going to manage it, what they're comfortable with, and what you want it to do. But I'd look at Basecamp.com. A lot of these have in it. This is specifically a project management tool. It's very, very popular. It has message boards, to-dos. You can have chats. You can have schedules. You could have the things you described, the pages with somebody's address and so forth, including who's doing the maintenance on this facility or that facility. A lot of things like that. I think Basecamp is probably a good thing also to look at. Some of these get quite expensive. Some of them have free limited tiers. Basecamp has a personal tier, 3 projects, 20 users, 1 gigabyte of storage that's free. So there are a lot of things. Yeah, that's probably, and at least it would give you a chance to see if it fits your needs.
If we're really emailing back and forth a lot, would maybe a file storage system be better? Because mainly that's the number one thing that we need is just a repository for our documents.
Well, Google Drive would do all that for you. We use Google Drive at TWiT. That's our main project management thing because everything is done in Sheets and Docs, all the Google Office tools, and we have shared drives, and you can put different family groups into different folders and different drives and invite people to. You have complete control over this. I think there are a lot of choices, and so it's really very, very flexible. I've given you a pretty wide range of things, everything from a complete do-it-yourself solution like a wiki, I like DocuWiki for that, to something that's designed for project management. When you use those phrases, I'd say Basecamp or Monday.com. And then, of course, any website can do some of that. And if you don't mind kind of something free-form, Google Sites plus Google Drive would probably work. Sites would give you the front page, and then you could link to documents from Sites. So yeah, Google Sites might actually be the right thing for you. That ties very closely into Google Drive. And if everybody already has a Google account, it's a no-brainer to set that up.
Yeah, I called in a couple of weeks ago about some sort of at-home Zoom device. I actually found one out of Orange County.
Oh, good. Who makes it?
It's called onsceneinc.com.
Nice.
And the device is called Spark. It's $85. It essentially looks like an Apple TV device, but it's not. But it's the same size. It gives you a webcam attached.
Nice, and it gives you Zoom on your big screen TV.
Yeah, and you just use your phone or your tablet as the remote control for it. It connects to their secure servers. You get access to it.
It's exactly what you wanted. I'm glad you found it. OnScreenInc.com. It's called Spark. Thank you for calling back.
You can schedule meetings and then just log in to your meeting via this after you've scheduled it on your Zoom app.
Perfect.
Everybody can join.
Matthew, you're the family geek. It's clear. It's nice to talk to you, Matthew. Thanks for calling in. And thanks for the update on that. I'll add that to the website. Spark. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, augmented reality, real reality, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. If you want to talk high tech with me, I'd love to talk high tech with you. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Today is an auspicious birthday, Valentine's Day. 16 years ago, 2005, a little company called YouTube got its start. Boy, did they change the world. They continue to change the world. Many years ago, in 2006, I was doing a podcast we called Inside the Net with my friend and colleague from Canada, Amber MacArthur. And we got an interview with one of the founders of YouTube, Steve Chen. And I thought I'd just play this little clip from that show because this is Steve talking about creating, this was before they sold it to Google, by the way, founding YouTube 16 years ago.
Chad is the other co-founder of the company, and he's the CEO. We were early employees of PayPal back in 1999. And since PayPal, we've been getting together for sort of monthly lunches, monthly dinners. And in January of 2005, we had met up at my place in San Francisco for a dinner party. And we were taking videos and photos. And the next day, we found out that while we could share the photos pretty easily, the videos, there was just no way to share it. We couldn't email it. There were no sites out there to upload this content. And so we thought this was going to be a bigger problem as sort of digital cameras and now even cell phones become more pervasive with the ability to take videos. So we started working immediately the next day on sort of a way to upload and host personal videos.
Isn't that funny? Because that's really how a lot of the biggest companies in tech started, to scratch an itch. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was a Harvard freshman, wanted a better way to find other Harvard freshmen and find out more about them, especially the young ladies, and created Facebook, a digital version of the Harvard, something they called the Facebook, which had all the freshmen in it, but it was on paper. And there's Steve Chen saying, Chad and I, we just had a dinner party and we wanted to share photos, but mostly we wanted to share videos from the party and we couldn't. At the time we interviewed him, this was from March 2006, the company was about a little more than a year old and was already facing a lot of problems because people had started uploading clips from Saturday Night Live to YouTube, and NBC was getting very upset and had sued them. At the time, I asked Steve, I said, aren't you worried that you're going to be put out of business by all these lawsuits? Maybe he was, because shortly after we talked to him, about 5 months after we talked to him, they sold YouTube to Google for $1.65 billion. It's now the second most visited website in the world after Google itself. And makes a little bit of money, I think, for Google. So happy Valentine's Day to you. Happy birthday to YouTube. 16 years old today. Let's go back to the phones. On the line, Richard from Whittier, California. Hello, Richard.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Listen, I get a lot of email that's sexually oriented. And I block it and I report it spam, but it keeps coming into my trash file. I'm using Gmail. Can I eliminate it from coming in?
No. Tell your wife it's not anything you're doing. This can get people in trouble. It is, everybody gets it. It's spam. It's very annoying. And Google, which has been in the past very good at eliminating spam, seems of late to have gotten, I think, a little less good. And I don't, it's a constant battle, between spammers and Google. And I guess, it's an ebb and flow, and Google's currently not doing as well as they used to. There is no way to block it forever because, if it were always from the same address, you could block that address for sure. You can even set a filter in Google that says, just throw this in the trash. The minute it arrives, I don't want to see it. I don't want it in my trash. I want it, destroy it. So you can do that. But the problem with a lot of spammers is they move. They know you're going to do that, so they don't come from the same. I'm not talking to you, Google. My phone decided to get involved. That spammers are constantly, changing their email address and so forth. So I'm sorry that that's happening to you. Is it going directly into trash or is it going into your inbox?
It's going directly into trash. Between those ads and the Nigerian prince that wants to give me money. I know. That's all I get.
Well, at least it's going into trash. It's not coming into your inbox. So that does mean Google is seeing that it's, not mail you want to get, that it's spam, but not, I wish there were a way to stop it. There isn't. Still, to this day, seems like we won the war somewhat against spam. It was really a problem 10 years ago. And Gmail was at the forefront. I used to run all my mail through Gmail because they were the best. But it wasn't that we ever got rid of it. It's just that the spam filters got better. Still, 70, 80% of all the email, all the internet traffic and all the email is, this kind of spam. And a lot of it is salacious, is unpleasant.
Yes.
So you're not. All I can say is you're not alone. It's not your fault. You can tell your significant other, "I didn't ask for this." It's just it happens to everybody. And if it came from the same place, if you were getting solicitations from the same, website, for instance, you could always block that. But most of the time, spammers, those Nigerian princes, never have the same address twice.
Okay.
Sorry. The worst thing is get ready because it's going to start coming in as text messages. That's the latest because they realize people aren't.
I get some that come to my Google Calendar trying to set me up with a date.
Yes. So very important. That is, I think, has always been a flaw with Google Calendar. But you can stop that by saying, going into your settings in Google Calendar and saying, do not display because that's an invitation. It comes in your email. It's an invitation. They know that for a lot of people, because of their settings in Google Calendar, that's going to show up in their calendar. How embarrassing is that? That's ridiculous. Yeah. You can turn that off in the settings. I can't remember the exact setting, but it has to do with calendar invites. You're not accepting them. I think it just says, do not display calendar invites in my calendar. I don't want to see those. Because that's in my opinion, a flaw in the system. Understand, they want you to be able to do that if the invites come from people but it also opens you up because the invites arrive in email, and if they see a calendar invitation in the email, Google, unless you tell it not to, will add that to your calendar. And so spammers use that all the time. All the time. And so that's something that you absolutely want to turn off, and you can do that in the calendar settings.
I'll go there and look.
Yeah, I'll look it up and I'll find it for you. I don't remember exactly the details, but I'll find it for you and tell you in the next couple of minutes after the break. All right.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I'm sorry that's happening to you. You too. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day. And, I think if you have a suspicious spouse, those things can be very embarrassing. You don't see them most of the time, but if you have a spouse who's looking through your email and stuff and sees that, and he or she says, "Hey, what's this?" You tell them Leo says everybody gets it. It is not related to anything you're doing. It's spam. It's unsolicited. In fact, there's a word for spam that people sometimes say you should use this. Mostly Hormel, the creators of Spam pork shoulder product, say you should use UCE instead of spam. No, but it stands for what it really is: unsolicited, that's the key, commercial email. It's email with an intent to sell you something that you didn't ask for. I think spam is probably better. I do. I'm sorry, Hormel, you're stuck with it. It's just the way it is. 8888 Ask Leo. We're going to take some more of your calls in just a second. It has nothing to do with that delicious pork product that Hormel makes. Nothing to do at all. The origin of spam, the term spam, is that old Monty Python skit. A guy goes into a restaurant, says, "Well, what do you got?" And everything has spam in it. Spam. And eventually the singers come out and spam, spam, spam. So the spam took over the restaurant. And in this case, it was referring to Hormel's fabulous, delicious pork shoulder product. But after that, some wag on the internet said, "That's just like junk email." And forever after, there's been a little confusion. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. True love hurts. Professor Laura playing the anti-love song for the day on our Valentine's Day episode. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Glenda's on the line from Huntington Beach, California. Hello, Glenda.
Oh, hi, Leo.
Hi, Glenda. What's up?
Oh, hey, I take photos of artwork to feature like online for selling, at auctions.
Is it your artwork?
No, I wish I could say it was.
Oh. Is it like estate sales? Or it's for a gallery? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So And so I have been using CamScan because it will like straighten out the picture.
Right.
When you do cropping,
right.
It straightens it out. But sometimes the lighting, the colors of the pictures.
It's difficult. So it is, especially for a painting, because you can't run it through a scanner. let's just take it out of the frame and put it through a scanner. No, it is pretty much the only way to get an image of it. And there are people, as you know, I mean, if you look at any art gallery's catalog, those are obviously photos somebody's taken. And so there's a real trick to it. You need a tripod. You need good lighting and probably multi-point lighting because you don't want shadows. But you're also trying to avoid glare, and depending on what the medium is, that can, or if there's a glass frame, that can be an issue. What CamScanner does is it takes care of the tilt and the shift. It fixes the perspective. But you don't need that if you're really careful to get the camera looking straight at the painting. And that's why you use a tripod. You want to get the camera at the midpoint of the painting and straight on. Now, if it's a giant canvas, you're still going to have some perspective shift. And the professionals, when they're taking pictures in that case, it's also used in architectural photography, will use a special kind of pan tilt lens that lets them adjust it to, in the camera, do what CamScanner does in software. But you're right, whenever you're processing an image with software, there's always the possibility it will modify the image, it will damage the image. So it depends on how perfect you want these images to be. This is honestly.
They don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It just needs to.
Let me ask, our photo guy, Chris Marquardt's coming up in just a minute. He's on the line. Started a little early, as he always does, to make sure he's okay. Chris, do you ever do this? Take photographs of paintings, of art? And do you have any suggestions?
Well, I mean, you want to avoid glare. I mean, that's really the most important thing. Keep the light source at an angle that doesn't reflect directly.
And that may involve moving the light, depending, as you're setting up, right?
Yes, be parallel to the painting. So try to not come in from the side, otherwise you get some distortion there. Daylight works best. Direct sunlight doesn't work really that well. So overcast daylight is kind of the best light on the planet for these kind of things.
Our chat room, Scooter X in the chat room, has come up with a couple of articles, one from expertphotography.com and one from artworkarchive.com that gives you some tips. Is there something specific, though, Glenda, that I could do to help you?
Well, I didn't know if there was a better app than CamScan. I have an iPhone.
Okay.
So I didn't know if there was a better one than that.
Google, but it's an Android. I don't think Google offers it on iOS. Has its own. In fact, they even eliminate glare. They take a number of images and paste it together. But yeah, I think there are a lot of. The CamScan is really more about documents, right? So the idea is not taking a picture of a painting, but of a legal pleading, for instance. And it doesn't. And then you can be sloppy. You can take it from a slight angle, and CamScan will square it out. But you're right. They probably don't care that much about color reproduction and things like that. Google's PhotoScan is on iOS. Oh, so there's one to try. I did not know that PhotoScan was on iOS. This is Google using their AI capabilities. They're very good at post-processing of images. So they have an app called PhotoScan for iOS. It's free. It is all. I've used it on Android, but it's apparently available for iOS. And their intent is you go to the mom's house for Thanksgiving, and there's all these family photos on the wall, and you want to capture them. And of course, you do that with your camera phone, and they look terrible. There's glare. And so this app is designed to remove the glare. You take it from several angles, remove the glare, square it out. It has automatic perspective correction, smart rotation. It's actually pretty smart. And the trick is taking multiple pictures. So you might try that. I think it's better than a CamScanner because it's aimed for photos as opposed to designed for documents.
Okay. Can I ask another quick question?
Sure.
Okay. So if there are some art, there's some art out there that I see online that I really like, but I might be looking, are there other places selling it online? Is there a way to like take a picture of something and then the app will scan the internet and say, this is for sale here?
You don't even need to do that. I'll make it even easier for you. Google search has an image search, and this is a great tool. So all you have to do is somehow capture that picture on the website. If you can save it out, easiest. But if they don't, sometimes they don't want you to do right-click and save. You could just do a screen capture of it. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you drag it into Google's search window, and it will say, oh, you have an image. And it will try to find the duplicate of that image. And if exact duplicates exist, it will find them. It's a little more challenging if it's inexact, but given it's a work of art, you're looking for the exact one, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Those are great questions. Always glad to answer them. And it's a great way to tee up our photo guy. Chris Marquardt joins us in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you quite literally each and every week by CacheFly. CacheFly is the content delivery network we've been using for a long time. They started in 1999, and we started using them pretty much from the beginning, more than a decade, because I was having a lot of trouble providing, the bandwidth for everybody to download the podcast in a reasonable amount of time. People complained, servers would go down. Matt Levine, the founder of CacheFly, called me up, said, Leo, we can help. He was a fan, and I am so glad, because we've been on CacheFly ever since. And you know what? Not 3 a.m. phone call, the servers are down. And I've never gotten a complaint from our listeners, except when it's our fault. You didn't put the podcast up, something like that. But once it's on CacheFly, man, it flies. It's one of those things, it's a quality of life thing from my point of view as a podcaster that, your audience may not notice, but it just makes them happier. Like I never have to think about whether I'm going to get the podcast. And if you're a streamer, you got to find out about this. CacheFly now offers something they call ultra-low latency streaming. Well, they don't call it that. It's what it is. If you've tried WebRTC, it's not that. It's not that solution that's let you down in the past. On CacheFly's ultra-low latency streaming, latency is less than 1 second. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it. Their HTML5 player works everywhere. It's easy support for you. There's an SDK available. Works on mobile beautifully. You can put that player on the websites, on applications, mobile devices, any platform you want. It looks great and it works beautifully. And 1 second latency. Can I say that again? That's good enough to do live sports or esports. It's really amazing. And boy, CacheFly is the most global CDN. 50 points of presence all over the world. They just added a bunch of new pops in Latin America. And of course, when your customers are closer to the point of presence, you're going to get better throughput, better bandwidth, and lower latency. You can stream anywhere in the world, and man, does it scale. I have to say, this is huge, because the problem when you're streaming is all of a sudden your stream gets discovered. You got millions of people watching. CacheFly's ultra-low latency video platform could deliver video to more than 1 million users at the same time concurrently. 1 million viewers. That's kind of amazing. It can ingest thousands of synchronous streams. Reliably, their platform is designed for transmuxing thousands of streams simultaneously with live failover. They can ingest RTMP, RTMPS, SRT, and more is coming. And they deliver ultra-low latency SLDP and HLS streams all at the same time. It is amazing. If you have not tried this, you must. CacheFly's ultra-low latency streaming, and by the way, they will tailor it exactly to you, give you a custom-built solution based on your unique needs, all built on top of CacheFly's reliable, robust global network with ingest and delivery wherever you need it. And of course, 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year support. They're always there when you need them. Imagine more than 1 million concurrent streams with less than 1 second latency. Up to 5 times faster than other CDNs, and it's the world's most reliable CDN, backed by a 100% SLA. CacheFly, We're so happy to be CashFly customers. You will too. By the way, they're nice people too. This might make you feel better or feel good. They are partnering with World Central Kitchen to deliver 300,000 warm meals. They've raised more than $50,000 to date and more to come. CashFly, they pioneered the first Anycast CDN infrastructure way back in 2002. Their best hop technology automatically finds the fastest route to and from customer origin across their global network of POPs for the maximum performance and reliability. If you're interested, here's what I would suggest. We have set up a special site, twit.cashfly.com. Go there with your usage trends. If you've got a current CDN, bring your bill and see how much they can save you. See how much CashFly can save you and what they can do for you. Twit.cashfly.com. We are very happy CashFly customers for more than a decade. That should tell you something. Twit.cashfly.com. Thank you, CashFly. Now back to the show. Streamed to you via CashFly. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time for our photo guy, Chris Marquardt at sensei.photo. He's my personal photo sensei, but I'm sharing with you this Valentine's Day. Hello, Chris Marquardt.
Hey, how are you doing?
Do they celebrate Valentine's Day in Germany?
Yeah, of course.
It's a global Hallmark holiday now. Yeah.
It has become a global thing, yes.
Yes. How do you say Valentine's Day in Germany?
Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
No, Valentinstag.
Valentinstag. Valentinstag.
Yes.
And have you done anything special for your special lady?
No. I don't do Hallmark.
It's too late. It's over. You're done. You're done.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything now, it's over. So Chris is about 9 hours ahead of us. That's why it's evening in Germany. Chris joins us every week to talk about getting better pictures, whether it's with our smartphone or our fancy camera. Today, what is our topic?
Placement. I want to talk about placement.
Oh.
And this is, believe it or not, a bit of a more advanced topic because it is in relation to many other topics.
It's composition, right? Is it the same as composition?
Well, it's sort of, yeah. But I mean, the question is always there, where do I place something in the photo?
Right.
And of course, what you want to do is, if you want to place something in a photo, first of all, find the subject, find what the photo is about.
Right.
And then you want to place it, or you will have to place it always in relation to something else. And that could be something else in the photo, other objects in the photo. Or if there aren't any other objects, then that could be the frame itself. That is part of the photo. So you place it in relation to that frame. How much space does it have towards the frame? We're just looking at a photo here of a bunch of trees in the corner.
There's nothing in this photo. It's just an empty field with 3 trees.
But it's amazingly well placed because that distance to the right and the distance to the bottom is about the same. It feels really well placed, as if it belongs in that corner.
Okay.
So the photographer has deliberately put it there.
So question, Sensei. I have a question for you. Because it's often said that what kind of makes a picture a snapshot as opposed to a real picture is that you put the people right in the middle. They're just like, it's because, boom, we know they're the subject, and you put them in the middle.
Yeah, not necessarily.
But many cameras...
It's not necessarily a problem.
There's no hard and fast rules.
Well, and a photo has two middles, a horizontal middle and a vertical middle.
Well, that's the question, because many cameras have a grid on there that divides the screen into thirds. So it's like a tic-tac-toe.
And there's, in general, I would say, trust your gut. If it feels right, it is right. So in that case, it creates a bit of an empty space on one side. And that could be, normally you would want to try to balance this out. But then on the other hand, it also adds a little bit of tension to an otherwise, let's be honest, relatively boring photo, right? There's just a bunch of trees on there.
If you draw the tic-tac-toe grid on here, these trees are in the lower right-hand corner of the grid.
Yeah, that would be one of those rule of thirds photos.
Yeah.
And
rule of thirds, that's what it's called, yeah.
It's a simple place to go to. But what I really like about photos like these is they have a sort of balance to them by being deliberate in their placement.
Yeah.
So
here's one with these are timbers from an old pier on sand with the sun setting, and they're right in the middle.
here's another relation. First of all, in relation to the frame, this one is placed in the middle, so left and right is kind of the similar distance between these poles and the sides. But then there's also a relation to the horizon. That's another thing in the photo. The photographer has a choice where to place that horizon by going a bit lower, going a bit higher with the camera, and the way this cuts through the horizon feels okay. Doesn't feel weird. Would probably feel weird if it went right through the top of one of these poles. That would be a kind of strange. So cutting a bit through, awesome.
I've also heard the words golden mean in regard to this.
Yeah. That's a similar concept, or very similar to the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a simplification of the golden mean.
It's a little complicated to do the golden mean. It has to do with the Fibonacci series, and it's very complicated. And it's a spiral, and it's complicated.
You can find that in famous paintings, but then there's probably as many famous paintings that don't go by these rules. Right. So
do these rules come from painting originally?
Well, the thing is, if you search for rules, if you search for patterns, you will find them. So if you go and look through 100 photos with the rule of thirds or the golden mean in mind, you will find these things. But then you can also find the number 23 everywhere if you look for it.
Yeah, right. Here's some elephants in the water.
Yep.
With riders.
So again, search for the subject. In this case, I mean, obviously, it's the center. It's the center elephant, the biggest one with the person in a very colorful.
She's wearing a lime green shirt where everybody else is wearing black shirts. It's there are 6 elephants, so she's on elephant 3. She's not smack dab in the middle of the elephants.
It feels kind of middle-ish.
She's middle of the picture, yeah. Even the mountain range kind of is dipping right over her head. I mean, it's kind of an interesting composition because
but the spacing in this, the placement and the spacing in this one, again feels very deliberate because all those elephants are separate from each other. They don't overlap each other. So there's a bit of a deliberation in that photo.
That's a good point.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we know it's serious because the guy's put his name on the picture in big letters. So he must be a pro.
You can do that. You can do that. And of course, the other concept that we have talked about often is the fore and the background. So the background is always in some form of relation with the foreground. If you look at that next photo, there's a person walking in front of trees, and you could have placed, or the photographer could have placed that person in front of the tree, directly in front of the tree, or more to the left, more to the right. And the photographer chose to place that person in that little opening between those trees.
Right,
so it again feels like a very deliberate placement with a good distance between things, so nothing interferes, nothing collides. And that's kind of the questions that I usually ask. Well, first of all, what's the subject? What's the foreground? How does it relate to the background? Does it collide, or do some lines in the background continue in the foreground? That might be a collision of sorts. Does the thing move? We've talked about movement in photos before. So does it move, the subject?
She's
Which
moving.
way does it move?
She's hustling from left to right,
So she's walking from left to right, and then if you go back to, like, I don't know how many weeks ago we talked about motion.
Right.
If you give things space in a photo to move into the same, like this person is moving into the photo, it adds more calm to the photo, as opposed to that person walking out of a photo.
As you've said many times, it's nice to know these rules, but ultimately it's the feeling. You go, that feels right. That feels like, that makes me feel good. That composition clicks for me. Is that something do professionals own? I mean, is this something that you learn, or is it something you have?
It is something you play with. I mean, in this case, a person walking in front of a background, I would take like 3, 4, 5 photos.
You try different. Okay, that makes sense.
And then if I'm not sure what I'm looking for, I might do this. Just take a bunch and then choose the right one where the person is at the right spot. But then sometimes, in this case, I would probably have instinctively known that I want to frame that person in that spot and then take the picture there.
Chris Marquardt, you can get coaching like this on his website, sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. He joins us every week. I'll tell you what our assignment is when we come back. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Happy St. Valentine's Dog.
Valentinstag.
Valentinstag. That's funny. We didn't get to all the pictures, unfortunately. There's so many good ones in this.
Yeah, no worries.
This is a great collection. This is Reflections.
I get. Well, and it's placement, but such a tight placement that I feel like it needs more breathing room.
A little more space. It's a little tight. Yeah.
Yes.
I like
that one.
this.
Foreground, background. I mean, that little twig in the neck doesn't belong there.
This bothers me. Yeah.
It does bother me.
It's like it's going to hit the bird or something. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Look at that tree. Wow.
Amazing placement, especially if you look at that tree and you, what I see there is not a tree. I see a person leaning against the wind, walking to the right with a cape fluttering in the wind.
Yeah.
So there's motion outside of the frame. Amazing level of tension there.
Yeah.
With that tree, even though it points to the left, but actually that motion kind of points to the right. So
yeah, very interesting. Lots of trees. Trees are good to play with because they don't move.
They don't complain. They are patient.
You can
very,
take
very patient.
all the pictures you want. Try all the different placements.
Yes, absolutely.
Very nice. Very nice. Buffalo, sort of the same. Love that. All right, we're gonna tell people the word of the day is it weird still?
Weird, and we'll be doing the review in probably 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. Chris, have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next week.
You too.
Thank you.
See you then.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Professor Laura said, love song or anti-love song? I said, the anti-love songs are always more interesting, don't you think? Who cares if the sun makes plants grow? Since you left me, since you broke my heart, I don't care. What is that? I don't know. Hey, Chris Marquardt reminded me we have a photo assignment ongoing right now. We do this every month, give you a chance to get out there, take some pictures. In this case, we're going through the alphabet. We're up to the letter W. We're looking for pictures that illustrate the word, the idea, the concept weird. Weird. So whatever that means to you, doesn't have to be a fancy camera. Just take it with a smartphone, whatever you got. Of course, keeping in mind all the hundreds of rules Chris has taught us for getting a great image. Now, if your gut says it's good, it's good. Once you get an image you like, you can upload it to our Tech Guy group on Flickr.com. No charge to join. It's a photo sharing site. Although I'm a pro member, and I encourage people to do that to keep them online because we think they're one of the best photo sharing sites ever. They have groups. The one you want to join is the Tech Guy group. It's got a picture of me and 13,730 members. So you'll know you're in the right place. Almost 7,000 photos. Once you have uploaded your picture, tag it with TG Weird for Tech Guy Weird, so we know it's your submission, and then add it to the Tech Guy group. Our moderator, Renee Silverman, will thank you. We'll thank you and say, "Oh, we've added your weird photo," and then I think Chris said 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks from now, we'll do a review of all the weird images. Chris will pick 3 to talk about on the radio show. Weird is the photo assignment. Mike on the line from Denver, Colorado, our next call on the Tech Guy Show. Hi, Mike.
Hey, good afternoon, Leo. Thank you so much for taking my call. It's so great to talk to you again. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the millennial. I'm 24 from Colorado, but it's really great to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to talk to you again, Mike. Welcome. And I want to apologize because not you personally, but occasionally on our shows, we have perhaps said things about millennials that were not the kindest thing in the world. And both my kids are millennials, and I have nothing against millennials. It's just fun to give you guys a hard time. But you know what? Yeah. That's a tradition. Old folks have always mocked young folks. When I was a kid, when I was your age, people say, "Stop, cut your hair, stop playing that rock and roll, get off my lawn." So it's normal. You would, if you didn't have that when you were growing up, I don't know, you'd be lost. So I apologize, but you deserve it. Anyway, Mike, what can I do for you?
Well, thank you so much, Leo. It means so much. I've always loved radio, and, you and George Norrie are some of the broadcasters I've looked up to ever
Thank you.
Since I was a little kid.
You're putting me in high company. That's very nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's so great to talk to you. And, when I heard you talking about YouTube earlier, it really made me think of, the This Week in Tech network, how it was really created in the vision of YouTube or Facebook, in a sense that it's really a visionary network for, I hate to say this, but nerds like me who love technology, No,
it is. I'm a geek myself, and from the very earliest, I started kind of doing tech talk radio in '92 with John C. Dvorak, and even from that point, I really thought we should do a show for nerds, for geeks, for people who are into it, not for people who are not into it. And if people are interested in it, whether they're geeks or yet or not, treat them as if they are and have an interest in this, and treat them as intelligent. And that's how I wanted to be treated. And it's still a small fraternity. Even though everybody uses tech now, the people who really embrace it, love it, enjoy it, play with it for its own sake are still a tiny minority. So we have to still stick together, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my question today, Leo, it's one you probably don't get a whole lot, but, there's a lot of shows on the radio today, terrestrial radio, that are played on the radio that are automatically uploaded in the form of a podcast on the internet after they're done airing. But, Leo, for the shows that are played on the radio that aren't automatically saved, I wanted to ask you, other than a tape recorder, what would be some good programs to use for saving shows played on terrestrial radio?
Yeah. So if it's streaming, in most radio stations these days, even though they're on a transmitter tower, will put a version on the internet. If it's streaming, there are a number of programs that will record it off of a stream that you can buy. There's a company called Applian that's been doing this probably longer than anyone. APPLIAN. They make something called Replay Radio, and by the way, it is in version 11, so that gives you some idea of how long they've been doing it. It's a Windows app, and it does exactly that. It records streams as, like radio shows, and turns them in effect into podcasts. If it's something coming over the air, though, you'll need a radio to record it. And there's a company called C. Crane, which, if you're a radio fan, it sounds like you are.
I have one.
Yeah, everybody loves C. Crane. They, for a long time, have made a variety of devices, radios with built-in storage, SD cards and the like, that will allow you to record radio stations. So if you go to ccrane.com, under the radio recording section, wait a minute, it looks like they don't have any more radios. They have, that's interesting. They have accessories. Maybe they've stopped selling the recording radios. I find that hard to believe, because I feel like that's a very popular thing to do, because you can't always listen to the show. Norrie's on late. What if you get sleepy? Wouldn't you like to be able to record that? I don't see, there's no legal restrictions against recording for personal use like that. So feel free. I think there are a lot of ways to record.
How do you record yours and upload yours?
Well, we're a podcast network as much as a radio show. I do this show, but I do several other shows that are podcasts. We have something like 20 shows that we podcast first and foremost. This is the only one that we broadcast as well. So I'm recording it as I do it. It's recording right now. It's recording audio and video. So we put out a video podcast as well as an audio podcast.
Right.
So that's something any radio station probably should be doing. Nowadays, that's something, there's the old story, the old business story, is that you got to understand what business you're in. In the early days of the railroads, when trucking came along, the railroads suffered. They actually, many of them went bankrupt because they thought they were in the railroad business, not the transportation business, And so it's important for radio to understand they're not in the business of transmitters and towers. They're in the business of audio content. And so the delivery is not as important, in my opinion, as the content itself. Every radio station produces a lot of great content. And I guarantee that there would be audiences for the podcast versions of those. If people could download them and play them at their leisure, why wouldn't they? The radio stations have always been a little nervous about this, but I think that that's, something they've got to be aware of. And most radio stations do have great content. So just record it as they're recording. By the way, for my entire life in radio, I've recorded my shows, every one of them. Mm-hmm. So that's normal in a radio station. So turning that into a podcast is trivial. It's easy. It's, I think, better in some ways than doing a streaming version. In fact, a lot of radio stations which started with streaming realized how expensive that was and pulled back. I said, this costs, you put a transmitter up, it doesn't cost you more money if 1 million people listen. Well, it does if you're offering a download. So they pulled back. But I think that there is an opportunity there. And as you know, starting in 2004, started making a podcast out of this show because I think that's what people want. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, and all that jazz. Augmented reality, virtual reality. Did you see Apple's all excited about some sort of augmented reality headset. The rumors are getting stronger. The drumbeat's getting stronger, possibly this year. Dual 8K screens, 12 to 18 cameras. There's different models with different numbers. You'll see where you're going because the cameras will show it, and it'll pop up stuff, and it'll only be $3,000. And oh, by the way, according to the rumors, people wearing early prototypes suffered a lot of neck strain because they weigh so much. Oh, I love Apple rumors. Obviously, I'm sure Apple's working on something like that. We were talking with Sam Abuelsamid. He said Sony's working on a car as well as Apple and other companies. But working on doesn't mean these will get released. It's always important when you hear rumors about hot new products. Take it with a little grain of salt. Companies work on a lot of things. Do they release them? Well, only if they work out, which they most often don't. Still, I would, you know what? I'm a sheeple. An Apple sheep, a sheeple. I will, if Apple, even if it's $3,000, I'll buy it because it's Apple. Oh, man. I'm embarrassed to even admit it. Brian on the line from Arlington, Texas. Hello, Brian. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, I've got an issue creating desktop icons for shortcuts to websites.
Desktop icons for shortcuts to websites. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I was using Internet Explorer, decided to make the switch to Edge.
Yeah.
And now when I try to create a desktop shortcut, it only has the Edge icon on it. And I tried Google Chrome, same thing. And then I tried going back to Internet Explorer, and it doesn't work in Internet Explorer now. So what I do is
Boy, that's annoying. Oh, man.
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea why it's doing this, but I would appreciate.
So the idea is when you go to a web page, sometimes a web page you want to see a lot, you'll make an icon out of it, a shortcut that you keep on your desktop. And ideally, that icon wouldn't just look like a generic Edge icon or Chrome icon. It would look like most of the time it'd be a favicon from the website. And you say that's not happening at all, or is it just not happening with some sites? Or
the way I would do it is I would click on the little icon right next to the address.
Yep.
And drag it to the desktop.
Yep.
And while I'm dragging it, I can see the favicon in the image I'm pulling.
So we know there is one.
Right. But it's not creating on the desktop.
And it doesn't get saved. Yeah. So I'm doing this with Wikipedia. I see as I drag it over, and I'm doing this with Edge, which is the latest browser from Windows 10 from Microsoft. I see the Wikipedia W in the favicon. That's what that little icon is that you see sometimes in the bookmark or in the address bar when you're at a site. I see the alias button, so I know I'm dragging to make an alias. I'm going to release now. You're right, it's the Edge. How annoying is that?
I know. The odd thing is, too, when I add it to my favorites, whatever the website is, when you see the drop-down of favorites, next to the name of the favorite is the little favicon.
Yeah.
So it's on the computer somewhere.
Well, remember the favicons, which is short for favorite icon, and that's what they're designed to do, is to appear in your favorites, are tiny, tiny resolution. I can't remember what it is. It's 8 by 8 or 10 by 10, might be as much as 16 by 16, but blow that up to the 64 by 64 on your desktop, it's going to look awful. When I've made favicons, as I have for many of my websites, it's gotten, of recent years, it's gotten much more complicated. It used to be you just put a file called favicon.ico in the root directory of the website. It'd be picked up automatically. Now you have to put a variety of sizes. You need to have SVG files as well as ICO files. It's gotten a lot more complicated. But ironically, it's also in some ways gotten easier because there are favicon generators on the web that will make the whole set of icons that you need for your system. So what I'm wondering is if it's possible that but that's why I asked, is it all sites that do this? Like, let me try this with a Google search and see what I get. Because I'm wondering if maybe the Google, some of them, see, okay, perfect. It did work. So I went to google.com, did the same thing, dragged it from Edge to the desktop. It's got a rainbow G in the icon.
Okay. I haven't tried Google.
So my thinking is it comes down to these sites, whether they have created all the different files that they need to. Older sites which didn't do that, let me try my blog, which has a favicon, leo.fm. It's got a little picture of me sitting on a bouncy ball. And nope, now see, I know I put all of the right icons in there, and it's not doing it. So it seems to be related to which sites have which files. You know, it may be that Edge is saying, look, I'm not going to make an icon out of a 16 by 16 file. Let's see.
Is it on Chrome also? I tried switching to Chrome.
Yeah.
And then switching back to Internet Explorer, and now Internet Explorer doesn't work either.
I agree with you that that's annoying because otherwise they all look the same. I mean, you can see the name. Mm-hmm. But they all look the same. So icons now, favicons have to be 16 by 16, which is the default old-fashioned style, but also 32 by 32, 48 by 48, 64 by 64. You need an 8-bit, 24-bit, and 32-bit color depth. You need to have all these files in the right spot on your website for it to work. And my guess is maybe not since I was able to make a Google favicon. Try it. Go to google.com and see if you can do it with Edge. Since it has the proper icon, I'm thinking this has something to do with whether a site has taken the trouble to make the proper icon file formats.
Okay, I'm trying to...
That's annoying. Now, there is a way to fix this because I believe you can replace any icon on the desktop by just pasting in another icon. I haven't tried this in a while, but it used to be the case. You can change the icon manually, I guess is what I'm saying. Right. That's a pain in the butt.
Yep.
Do you have hundreds of them on your desktop?
No.
Just
4 or 5.
Yeah, the ones you go to all the time, your email or the website you check in every day or whatever, your news websites.
I just created a Google one, and it has a small multicolored G.
Yeah.
And it's
so the mechanism's working, but there's some reason Edge and now Chrome is deciding not to create a favicon. My guess would be it doesn't have the format that Windows wants for the desktop, whatever that is, the number of colors and the resolution. Otherwise, it'll make a really chunky, ugly icon. And it may well be that Microsoft has decreed I wouldn't be surprised if it's a chunky, ugly icon. Don't put that on my desktop. So that's a little frustrating. At least we verified that the mechanism still works. Just doesn't work on every website. Not sure why.
Maybe somebody in the chat room has an idea.
Yeah, I'll keep looking at that because it seems like there should be that you've raised an interesting issue. And I think there are a lot of people like you, Byron, who put icons on their desktop. That's really an easy way to find what you're looking for. Yeah. And
in doing research, they've changed the way the icons are stored. They're now stored in DLL.
That's right.
Files.
That's right. So that's my guess is that a modern site, Google's apparently doing it right. Wikipedia is not, and apparently I'm not, although I thought I was, because I did generate an icon with the icon generator, and it has a bunch of different files and all sorts of stuff.
All right.
So there's something going on. Yeah, it's probably Microsoft. I'll find out. If not, if I can't find out, I will ask our Windows Weekly hosts. We do a podcast every Wednesday called Windows Weekly, and Paul and Mary Jo are well connected, and I will give them this as a poser, see if they can solve it. Appreciate the question, Byron. It's a little thing, but it matters. It matters, right? It matters to me. If I'm going to put an icon on the desktop, I want it to look like. When you do it on your phone, it works, right? I want it to look like that site. Who was it made the TWiT logo? Dorothy Yamamoto in 2004. No, it was probably early 2005. I asked for a logo for our new network, which I had decided. Actually, I had a contest for the name too, for the show, and nobody came up with This Week in Tech, but somebody said This Week in Geek. I thought that's pretty good, but I'm not sure I want to use the word geek. What if I use This Week in Tech? And then it's kind of fun because it means twit. People still send me emails saying, "You know what twit means?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And it's a pregnant goldfish and a twit. So that's when TWiT came. And so I said, we need a logo for TWiT. And Dorothy Yamamoto, who was a retired graphics designer who was looking to get back in the field, was one of many people, I don't remember, it was dozens and dozens of submissions, who sent me a logo that was sort of like this one. It was on its side, though, because it was kind of related to an AND gate. If you look at an AND gate, you'll see it's very close. And I said, hey, if you rotated that 90 degrees clockwise and then put an eye in the middle, it'd be kind of like a little person, like a little twit. I always thought we'd animate it and have it running around. And that's how the logo was born. I was told by graphics artists and designers that make it simple, something you could put on a T-shirt, on a baseball, you could embroider on a baseball cap, something graphically very, very simple. It's not the prettiest logo ever. It's not the best logo ever. But I'm happy with it. It does the job. I never wanted to be like this slick, perfectly, designed. Yeah, something you can make a favicon out of, which we have. Actually, let me try if twit.tv works for the favicon. I didn't even try that. Let's drag this. No. TWiT doesn't work. The only one that's worked so far is Google. And we have to work on that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Space guy, Rod Pyle, coming up in just a little bit. I have all the books. I have all the Rod Pyle books. Amazing stories of the space age. Interplanetary robots. Blueprint for a battle star. I got to open that one up. And we will talk to Rod about space, the final frontier, in just a little bit. But let's go back to the phones right now. Yuri's on the line from San Diego, California. Hi, Yuri.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
I am well. How are you, Yuri?
I'm splendid. Thank you very much. I was going to say thank you for your service to the nation. You know,
that's silly.
A lot of good.
That's silly. I haven't served the nation. I'm just having fun talking about technology. Your name, of course, was the name of the first spaceman, Yuri Gagarin.
Yes. In fact, that's what my parents named me after.
Wow, that's cool. Were you born in Russia?
Yes, sir. I moved here when I was 16 years old, and pretty much, hasn't gone back since. So, I consider myself to be an American now. So.
Well, of course you are now. Yeah. But Yuri Gagarin, he was a hero of the Soviet Union, wasn't he?
Yes. What's interesting is that his counterpart, that was Valentina Tereshkova, that just tried to vote to Putin back into power, the joke that they have in Russia is they said that he has come back from space and she didn't.
I didn't know that Tereshkova, who was the first woman in space, was a Putin supporter. I had no idea.
Yeah,
wow.
One at that.
Wow, that's it. Life is interesting.
It sure is.
Yeah. What can I do for you today, Yuri?
Yes, sir. I'm not a millennial. I consider myself to be a dinosaur, having been born in '79. But
not a dinosaur. Trust me, you're still a kid to me, Yuri.
Yes, so I remember YouTube being a decent platform before it got overwhelmed with ads, and then after it has, I've tried a subscription for them, and then it kind of, the $9 a month got old, so I was able to manage that on my PC by using the ad block, but then recently when I researched the mobile platforms, I remember there was the OG YouTube, which kind of had allowed to bypass these advertisements, and then it stopped working on the Android, on the mobile platform, so pretty much I just installed it recently, and it did not work no matter what I did. So my question to you is there a go around these ads? Because they got really atrocious. They go about every minute and a half to 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, somebody's told me that. I pay for YouTube. It used to be called YouTube Red. Now it's just premium. But I pay for that because I also get Google Music with it. And so I don't see the ads. But I have been told that they run a lot of ads all of a sudden on YouTube. It
has become very uncomfortable. And if you miss, if you don't click in time for the first ad to go by, they plunge you with a second ad right away.
Oh, my gosh. Obviously, Google is trying to push you towards a $10 a month subscription or just to make money. It is an expensive proposition to do what YouTube does, if you think about it. They're hosting video free for everyone in the world. I mean, that's got to cost them a lot of money. There's certainly a lot of revenue as well with YouTube, and it is a shame. I'm going to say the obligatory. We are not living in a communist country, and the obligatory YouTube costs money to run, and so they run those ads to pay for it. And if you're watching it for free, it's. I think it's up. You have to look at your own moral compass, but you're undermining. You're basically stealing their bandwidth by saying, well, I'm not going to look at the ads either. So but I'm not judging. You know what? I say that as the obligatory thing. I'm not judging. That's up to you. Yeah. And many ad blockers will, in fact, kill YouTube ads. There are ways to block as well by running through a service like nextdns.io, that's the one I use, which is essentially an ad blocking and malware blocking service. And that'll work on Wi-Fi with any device, including your smartphone. But once you're on the cell phone carriers, you're not using NextDNS. But the good news is you can run NextDNS on your phone as well. So I would take a look. There are in other words, there are other ways to block ads on Android and iOS. There's a really good. Are you on iOS or Android?
Android and Windows.
Okay. Ironically, it's easier to block ads on Android, even though Apple is the anti-advertising company. You can put. Firefox makes a browser called Firefox Focus. Works on iOS and Android, but it works better on Android. Okay. That is an ad blocker. in itself, and you can use as an ad blocker in other browsers as well. So on iOS, you can say, if Firefox Focus is installed, you could say, use that to filter everything I look at. So I would take a look at Firefox Focus. I would take a look at NextDNS. You'll have to set up an account at nextdns.io and tell it what you want to block. And you'll see that, in fact, if you search around, you'll see that there are different blockers that work better for YouTube than others.
Right.
So I would guess that there are ways to do this. If you want to set up your own hardware at home, there's a Raspberry Pi has some software called Pi-hole. But my experience is NextDNS does everything a Pi-hole does and more, and you don't have to run a server at home. So
yeah, I actually have a Pi-hole installed at home, and I noticed that it's not as good because, although it shows you high numbers of the ads that it had prevented from happening, still it doesn't seem to affect YouTube at home very well. I'm finding that...
Well, I'm sure that along with running more ads, Google's doing everything they can to prevent you from blocking them, right? And if anybody's good at this, it's going to be Google. So ethical considerations aside, I think you're just going to have to constantly, it's going to be a constant cat and mouse between you and Google trying to block those ads. But I do think my top preference is nextdns.io. It costs a little bit if you use it a lot. It's not expensive, and I think it's really worth it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He's our rocket man, ladies and gentlemen. Rod Pyle, the author of many books. I didn't realize how many books. We talk about Space 2.0, but here's Interplanetary Robots. Here's Amazing Story of the Space Age. Here's Blueprint for a Battlestar. This would be great for any middle schooler or high schooler who's interested in technology and space. We've got all these discussions of different technologies and the blueprints for designing them, how a laser pistol might work and all of that. Rod Pyle is here. Hello, Rod!
Hello, Leo. So at this rate, I've only got, I think, 13 more books to send you. So I'll work down the list.
How many have you done?
17.
17. You're an overachiever, Rod.
Not hardly. Just a late bloomer and an overnight success at 4 decades.
Editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine, which is the official magazine of the National Space Society. Anyway, every week we get Rod on now to talk about space. Because you know what I noticed? There's more to talk about all of a sudden. It's not the good old days anymore. It's the good old days today, now.
Well, it's the good old days of the new space age. So I thought this week maybe we could talk about mutant space plants. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, they had some up in space. I saw that.
So they've been sending seeds up there for decades and studying what happens to them, and they noticed there were some changes in the DNA and so forth, but it really wasn't until about the mid-shuttle program that they began to realize a couple of things. One, that some of the junk DNA in the plant was getting turned on, because there's a lot of extra DNA in every living thing, right? It just kind of hangs out. It was getting activated, and the net result, either because of that or coincidentally with that, is that a lot of these plant strains become hardier. They become more able to adapt to harsh conditions. They can grow in colder weather, warmer weather with less water. They're more disease resistant and so forth. So Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates, who we talked about last week with regard to UAE's Mars orbiter, have signed a deal with a U.S. company called Nanoracks, which made its fame by designing standardized satellite interfaces for rockets and so forth, to send up a series of orbital greenhouses. And the first one or two will probably be on the space station, and they'll be human-tended. But the plan is for these to be big, robotically tended greenhouses that will expose these seeds to the radiation in zero-G. And we still haven't really figured out which one's doing the most work. But you bring these seeds back, and the idea in the Arabian Peninsula is that, there's only, at least in UAE, only about 5% of the land is actually under cultivation. And they're concerned about climate change, rightly so. So the idea is this would help feed a lot of people. And actually, China's second largest used variety of wheat is a space-adapted strain, which I didn't know till today.
So they send them into space, and these seeds say, "Oh, this is tough," and they call on some of their additional junk DNA, which turns out to have some use to turn on some features that make it easier to survive in space. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's the basic explanation. There's more to it than that, but it sort of goes.
I'm a basic guy, so
1976. So you joined the club, right? So that's the general story. And there was a. Did you ever see The Dream Is Alive? The IMAX.
Hey, turn off your video. We're losing your signal.
Narrated it.
Yep. Turn off that video.
Video going. Bye.
Yeah. Say again. What was it? The Cronkite narrated. What's it called?
Did you ever see The Dream Is Alive? It was an IMAX documentary about the shuttle.
No.
Narrated by Walter Cronkite.
Cronkite.
Well,
The Dream Is Alive.
Yes. One of the missions they did was called the LDEF, the Long Duration Exposure Facility, and it was a school bus-sized thing. It was just this big aluminum cylinder, basically, that had seeds and little bits of plants and all kinds of stuff all over the outside, and they left it up there for, I think, a year. So that was really their first experiment. So, yeah, they got to bring these things back, and they're stronger and tougher, which is interesting because people just get weaker and all messed up, right? Our bones get brittle, and our brains start to go south, and our eyes defocus, and we get all fouled up by space, but plants get stronger. So
isn't that funny?
Go figure.
So speaking of the UAE, their probe is at Mars now. Some beautiful images coming back of the red planet. Not images.
And so is China's.
And China's too. In fact, there's a lot of space going on. There's 2 launches scheduled for tonight. It's kind of amazing. Suddenly, this has all gotten very, this is really happening.
Well, and I think a couple of things could contribute to that. SpaceX has made space way cheaper than it ever was, and because of Elon's success with the Falcon 9 and now the Falcon Heavy, it's really pushed the other U.S. providers and the international providers because it was really expensive to launch with China or Russia, whoever. Not as expensive as the U.S., but still costly. But then here comes SpaceX and says, yeah, I could do it for about half.
I owe an apology, and unfortunately, it's a posthumous apology to my friend Jerry Purnell, the science fiction author, who was an early advocate for commercial space exploration. I used to say, "Oh, Jerry, come on, this is something NASA should do. This is something we should support." He said, "No, Leo, it's going to have to be commercial." And he was absolutely right. Elon Musk's SpaceX is as you just said, has made it possible to do a lot more. Jeff Bezos just announced he's stepping down from Amazon as the CEO to devote more time to his space project, Blue Origin. He's been kind of, I'm sure there's a little, billionaire to billionaire rivalry going on here because SpaceX has done so much. Blue Origin seems to be a little bit behind in all that.
Do you see the tweets that go back and forth between those guys? Stuff like "nice try" or "hey, welcome to the club, you're catching up," and that kind of stuff.
Geez.
I mean, Bezos has been dumping money into that, $1 billion to $2 billion a year for quite a while. But as we've seen, I mean, they've done some great things. The New Shepard is cool, although it's flying only very irregularly and still doesn't fly people. And he's selling rocket engines to a bunch of companies. But in terms of what we see outside, SpaceX is just handing them their lunch, So I think it's a good thing for him to do to really get in there and start pushing. Unfortunately, he's not. Elon's an engineer and a scary, brilliant one.
Right.
And Bezos is not, but we've seen what he did with Amazon, so I have no doubt that Blue Origin is going to catch fire. Plus, they're building a lunar lander.
Catch fire is not the best phrase to use, but I understand what you were trying to say there.
Things are going to blow up.
But also, this is why I was kind of arguing against commercial space is it's got to be for all mankind. And it is the natural tendency of capitalists like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos to get into this competition and say, I want to beat you and you're going to beat me. And really, this shouldn't be about one company beating another. This should be about something we're all doing together for mankind. So that's why I think we actually have a good balance now because NASA is still very much involved, right?
NASA's hiring those guys to do a lot. In fact, just last week, announced that elements of the Lunar Gateway, big heavy components that were supposed to fly on the SLS, which is still gestating very slowly, are going to go up in Falcon Heavy. So you're right. There's this sweet spot. And I've got the only Venn diagram in Space 2.0 is about this sweet spot. 3 circles. One is NASA, One is private space companies, both domestic and foreign, and the third is international space agencies. And when you get the overlap of those three circles, then is when you really win.
Something happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, that the competition between Bezos and Musk, and your viewpoint resonates with me, but at the same time, it's that competition and Musk's fierce sense of
absolutely.
I think he's competing against himself and God and nature at this point.
You need a little bit of that hubris. You need a little bit of that ambition. It's a little pinch of that. I wouldn't want it to be all that. I think you're exactly right. That Venn diagram is really important. International cooperation, our own government putting money and effort into it and really making it a priority. And then these great genius innovators like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos putting in their 2 billion cents. All of that
helps they're rich.
All of that makes something pretty exciting. Thank you so much. Rod Pyle, author, Space 2.0. We'll talk again next week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
See you, Leo.
Yeah, I think when we're on the boat, no video, because it works great when there's no video. I hear you perfectly and everything. But I think what happens, we get a lot of latency. It was fine at first, but that's the problem. It's not going to
It buffers after a while?
Well, it's just going to come and go. You're using LTE probably, right?
No, I've got
your own
Wi-Fi. Or not Wi-Fi. I've got a broadband connection up to the dock. It's about 200 yards away. So it's got kind of a semi-omni antenna that points that direction. But when it's windy, it shifts back and forth a little bit.
Maybe it's the wind. I don't know.
And it's been it was 70-mile-an-hour gusts yesterday out here.
Well, there you go.
And I was standing on the deck like at a 45-degree angle wanting to sing that wailing song, that's been going around the web.
Singing a sea shanty.
I know.
That's funny. I don't know what it is, but all that really matters, I'd like to see you if I can, but all that really matters is the audio should be good. And it definitely immediately fixes it when you turn off the video. So
does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good
with the video was fine initially, so I didn't say anything, but I think maybe when you're on the boat, let's just use audio only. That's fine.
Okay, well, I sent John a headshot, so if you feel lonely, you can pop up my headshot.
Hey!
And I'll grin over your shoulder.
There you go. Are you holding a phone?
No.
On the phone, Rod Pyle.
No, but I could do a little GIF if you want.
No, that's
kind of
okay.
wink and twitch. And,
yeah, actually, if you just wink and your mouth moves a little bit, that's good. That's good.
I'll be like one of those greeting card puppets. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Great to talk to you, Rob. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks.
Have a wonderful day. Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.
All right.
I need a 3-meter dish on my boat. Yeah,
that's
he's
what
right.
they say. That's what they say. How big can you go? All right, Rod. Take care.
Man of the moon. Take care. Thanks.
Bye. Tomorrow, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yes, of course I will. Of course I will. Thank you, Professor Laura, our musical director, and her Valentine's Day picks. It's very nice. Thank you. Jessica on the line from Orange City, Florida. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome. Thanks for your patience.
I have a question that concerns music.
Okay.
I have a friend. She runs a gym, and she has her own music. Well, she pays Pandora.
Right.
And does she have to pay the ASCAP?
So she pays Pandora for a commercial license?
I guess, unless it's her own.
So the way it works, there is Pandora for business, and I think that's probably what it is. You can't normally just say, hey, I run a gym, I want to pay you ASCAP BMI. I have to say all over the country, there are people playing streaming music from Pandora and Spotify and other systems in their business, and technically that's illegal. It's not licensed. And in fact, the company that does music licensing, ASCAP BMI, has guys who go around and it feels like a little shakedown, to be honest with you. They come into businesses and say, you better stop playing that music or we're going to charge you. And maybe even start to talk big bucks. Pandora and other services. This is, by the way, why... remember Muzak, M-U-Z-A-K, is the butt of many a joke. It's the elevator music and so forth. That's why Muzak was created. Muzak was license-free music that you could play in your business, and it often was kind of slushy. But nowadays, you can get other sources. I don't know if Spotify does it. I bet they do. But there is Pandora for Business, and it's only $27 a month. It's not that expensive. Where you get a special device. Your license fees are covered. They pay ASCAP BMI, and then you get to use the music. I think it might be a third party I'm looking at that's doing this. But I think they work with Pandora. It's called Mood Media. So if you go to moodmedia.com, you'll see you actually have to buy a special box and so forth. Yeah, that's important to remember that, I have to admit, I go to hair salons, or used to in the old days, go get my hair cut or, go get my nails done because, it's very important to have a nice manicure. And they'd be playing their Pandora, sometimes even with commercials in it. And I know that wasn't Pandora for Business. So, it's probably worth looking into that. It's not that expensive, and it's probably worth doing it. Spotify for Business is now Soundtrack Your Brand. Oh, I don't know about that. Mood Media might even be Muzak. Somebody said that's the same company that does Muzak. Cloud Cover Music is another one. You absolutely have to pay those license fees. And rather than getting somebody coming to your door and threatening you, I think it's a nice idea to tell your friend, if she's not already doing it, I think sounds like she is. When she says, oh, no, I got license fees covered, that's the only way you could do it, I think. I don't think you can go to ASCAP BMI and say, I'm going to use Pandora. Here's some money. Because they want to know what it is that's being played, and Pandora automatically tracks that. Jeff's on the line from Knoxville, Tennessee. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
I've got a couple of questions for you. Number one, would it be good for you to take a break and put that very airworthy Kim on the air? She has such a pleasing voice.
Oh, isn't she great? Oh, she's laughing now. Are you embarrassed, Kim? See, I told you I'd get you a Valentine. You just made Kim's day, Jeff. Anytime I take a break, I'll make Kim do it.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Mr. Murray's already got the market on that one.
Anyway,
what can I do for you, Jeff?
when she gets on the phone, her whole demeanor changes, but she can be demeanor then.
Did you get that one? She can get demeanor then. Oh, you are a wag, Jeff.
and your musical director, she's wonderful.
She's great too. You can't hear her, unfortunately. I hear her in my ears. She's got a little back channel to me, but you can't hear her on the radio show. But if you heard her, you'd say, Leo, you are the luckiest man in the world.
I think I would agree. Now, the question I've got relative to computers and that, and incidentally, I'm the one that called in quite some time ago, said I was having difficulty with T-Mobile, which I still have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In trying to get on the internet, I have to use hotspot through T-Mobile,
right.
But not their problem. My problem is I can't remember the password to get onto the through my access. How do I go around or find out my password?
Oh, all right. So you're using the hotspot from your phone as your internet access. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you on an iPhone or an Android phone?
Android.
Okay. So when you set up the hotspot, you actually can change the password. And if you go into those hotspot settings, you will see the password displayed. So go into hotspot and tethering. Let me just make sure that I'm not making that up. Yeah, in the Wi-Fi hotspot settings under Android, you'll see dots for the hotspot password, but you can change it to anything you want. So just tap those dots. It's under Wi-Fi hotspot, and change that password to something. It doesn't have to be that secure. Nobody's going to be saying, I got to get into Jeff's cell phone. I want to use his internet access. I wouldn't make it password 123, But it can be something pretty simple. And it's all there. It's in the settings. I don't blame you for forgetting it because the one they give you is pretty complicated. Our show today. Oh, I did the commercial, didn't I? Okay. I can just say Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Jeff. I'll pass along the kind words to Lady Laura and Kim. Happy Valentine's Day, Kim. Happy Valentine's Day, Professor Laura, our musical director. We thank her for the job she does every weekend on the show. Kim Schaffer, we thank you for answering those phone calls. I'm sorry I didn't bring you a box of candy or anything, but my heart's in the right place. I thank, most of all, I thank all of you for joining me. Remember, we put everything that happens on the show up on the website, so if it went too fast, and I'm sure it does in many cases, or you didn't hear it all, don't worry. It's all up online at techguylabs.com, even audio and video from the show afterwards. And that's free. There's no sign up. techguylabs.com. I'm going to go home and make it up to my wife. But I wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.